Hello, welcome. My name's Holly and my co-host Dean and I are going to be interviewing Gareth Southgate today. If you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do.
Yeah, so my name's Gareth Southgate. I'm the head coach of the England under-21 football team and currently the interim manager for the England senior team.
So we'll go on to your role as a manager and as a head coach later on, but to start with we want to ask you a couple of questions about you as a player. Obviously you started out at Crystal Palace at their academy, played for them in the senior team and then moved on to Aston Villa and Middlesbrough, winning League Cups with both Villa and Middlesbrough. Out of all those three teams, what was the highlight for you playing for any of those clubs?
Well, I think having started as a youngster at Crystal Palace, making your first team debut is a significant moment because my ambition was to become a professional footballer from when I was about 6 or 7 years old, I guess. And really, until you get into somebody's first team, you're not certain that you're going to make a living out of the game. So those early steps are really important. And I was very fortunate to go right the way through the three clubs that I was at. Had some success with all of them. So at Crystal Palace we won what's now the Championship. At Aston Villa we won the League Cup, and at Middlesbrough we won the League Cup, and I was also in some other cup finals with both of those teams. So I would say that probably because it was the first trophy they'd ever won, winning the League Cup with Middlesbrough was the most significant. They'd had 125 years in their history and never won anything. So to see the impact that had on the people in the town was a great privilege.
And then obviously you moved on to play for England and play for your country. What would you say was the most memorable experience for you during that time?
Well, again, to make my debut for England, because once I'd got to, probably as soon as I said I wanted to be a footballer, then my biggest ambition was to play for England. So to actually stand there and be singing the national anthem and representing your country was a really proud moment. And you know that you're one of only 11 out of 56 million that's standing and doing that. So that was very special for my family and for me. And then I guess to go to 4 major championships with England, even though in a couple of them I didn't play that much, was very, very special. I think the best tournament I was involved in was when the Europeans were held here in 1996. We had a fantastic team and it was an incredible atmosphere. I suppose for those that are too young to remember, it was a bit like the atmosphere around the Olympics a couple of years ago. So everybody in the country was engaged in it, and we had a really good team. So it was a special time to be involved with England.
As you said before, obviously you're head coach of the under-21s and now interim manager of the senior squad. Do you see yourself ever returning to club management?
Well, I'm sure at some stage, because in any job in football, you're not in it for very long if you're a coach or a manager. So there'll be a point where there's another challenge. How soon that will be, I've no idea. But yeah, when I left Middlesbrough in 2009, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. And then about 3 years into having had a break, I decided that coaching was what I definitely wanted to do. So, taking the under-21s was the first role back full-time in terms of coaching. And I know that's what I really enjoy. That's what I get a lot of fulfilment out of. And I also want to test myself at the highest possible level. So, I think I'm certain that being involved with club football will be a part of that at some point. Yeah.
So how does coaching the under-21 how does that kind of differ to coaching a club team?
Yeah, good question. So I would say it's similar to working with an academy at the club with the national team. Really, the players are obviously not fully formed. They're still progressing. They're still developing. That's the same for the senior players as well, by the way, but it's more noticeable with the younger ones. And I guess the biggest challenge is that you don't have the players for very long in terms of actually being able to work with them and coach them. They're at their clubs for the majority of the year. We probably have them for about 50 days. So you have to get your messages across as quickly as possible, and you have to make the camp as engaging as possible, that the players want to come back, because although it's an honour to play for your country, it's still got to be enjoyable. So that's what we try to do with the younger ones especially.
And obviously, being the interim manager, England have got some big games coming up. Fans are very excited about seeing what England will do against Spain and Scotland. What, for you, in the meantime, over the next few weeks, what will you be looking at in terms of the team and how they want to play?
Yeah, so two things have been key really after the last camp. One is to look back at the matches we played and really analyse where we can get better, how we can improve individually and as a team. And then the second thing is to get out and watch as many games as possible to be able to see the players in their own environment, be a bit more specific around where their best moments are on the field, because I hadn't really seen the first team play that much. It sounds crazy because you know all the players because they're well-known players, but my job's been working with the under-21s, so I was watching different matches every Saturday and focusing on those individual players and how they play. So I've probably seen 7 or 8 matches in the last 15 days, travelling around to get a good feel of not only the players that were in the squad last time, but also several that weren't in the squad last time. Should they be in this time? You've always got to have contingency plans in case we get injuries. So yeah, the basis of the work's been analysing what we've done last time, studying Scotland and Spain to see how they play and how we might need to play against them, and looking at all of the players in and around the squad.
Do you feel there's maybe a good level of players knocking on the door to get into the England squad at the moment? Yeah,
because of my work with the under-21s, I know all about that age group and the age groups underneath it. So I know that there's some players of really exciting potential. And it was very difficult picking a squad last time. I tried to keep consistency with what had happened before because I'd only had 2 or 3 days when we had to name the squad to think about everything and to decide what we wanted to do. So, but that's very difficult to pick a squad and to pick a team because you're leaving some good players out of the team. I guess the biggest challenge for this current squad is that there's not a huge experience of really big matches. If you looked at the England team maybe 10 years ago, a lot of those guys would have been Champions League winners that have played in the latter stages of international tournaments. And really, apart from Wayne Rooney, in the current team, Gary Cahill, they both won the Champions League. I think that's about it. And not many players outside of Joe Hart would have been involved in a team that's won the title as well. So all of those experiences are lying ahead for this squad currently. And they will improve by experiencing that. But I think everybody's got to be a bit patient in waiting for that improvement to come.
And then moving on to the under-21s, is there any players that perhaps the public should be looking out for in the next couple of years who you think could really make a big name for himself in England and in the Premier League?
Yeah, I mean, with that team, we've got, I think, 6 of the current senior team who could still play for that age group. So John Stones, Raheem Sterling, Eric Dyer, Dele Alli, Luke Shaw, Marcus Rashford can all still play for the under-21s. So that's already been very productive for the first team. But if I looked at some of the more experienced under-21 players that we've really been excited with, people like Nathan Redmond, Nathaniel Chalabar, James Ward-Prowse, Lewis Baker, they're probably the more senior under-21 players currently, and their challenge now is can they push up into the first team and challenge the guys ahead of them. But you're never quite sure who the next players are going to be. We know the potential of them all, but some of them develop really quickly and can be unexpectedly, like Marcus Rashford. You know, he wasn't even in Manchester United's under-23s about a year ago. So when young people are given confidence and they're given opportunity, then they can really grow quickly.
Talking about players that you pick, would you say that the media has any influence in terms of the players that get picked? Obviously, because the media can bring a lot of negative atmosphere around certain players, and in terms of sharing opinions, like the public's opinions, would that impact what players get picked for the squad or not?
Well, I think the media can give players a higher profile, but in the end, you pick a squad based on form, either form with their club, experience of how players have played for England in the past, and future potential. So there's probably three areas that you're always balancing as an international coach. It's not as clear cut as it can only be players in form, because some of them have no international experience, and playing for your national team under pressure is a different experience. So it's important that you have a balance of things, and also looking at who potentially might be able to play at the highest possible level, because we don't have many players of that level, and if we have got players like that, then you're always hoping they're going to be fit enough and available, playing well to come into the squad.
And obviously those players have all started with grassroots football, and you've done a lot of work in grassroots football. Would you say that with the FA releasing a lot of money out in towards grassroots, trying to improve pitches to get more people to stay involved, would you say that that's a good route that the FA are going down, or do you think there's more that they could do?
Well, I think you'd always like to do more, and I think the FA and the Premier League also put a lot of money into grassroots football that not everybody is always aware of. The latest scheme with the hub sites is really exciting, because that's going to be a huge investment into facilities, and living in the north, I know how difficult it is to get on the pitches in the winter. So you're either rained off, frozen off, too much mud, whatever it might be. So one of the bases for kids being able to improve is to be able to play. And okay, you might train indoors at a local gym or something, but in the end there needs to be a match, there needs to be an opportunity to go and play. So all weather surfaces and AstroTurf pitches for youngsters they're invaluable. It's a great surface for them to practice skills. The ball's not sticking in the mud. It doesn't just favour the bigger, stronger kid that can run through all the puddles and can start to flourish. But the mere fact that five or six matches could be played on that pitch in one day is a huge plus. Where some weekends on the grass pitch there's no matches played at all. So that opportunity to play is really key. And
would you say that the FA are doing enough in terms of not just allowing people to play football, but helping younger people get involved in coaching, volunteering, refereeing, seeing the different routes, like in terms of journalism as well? Do you think that the FA are doing enough within those?
I don't know about the journalism part, but I think very often maybe people aren't aware of what goes on with all of the county FAs. So there'd be lots of referees courses, coaching courses with county FAs. I guess one of the big questions is always is it possible to make some of those courses more affordable? And that's always difficult, because I think any course in further education, people normally have to pay, and it costs for tutors, it costs for books, it costs for hire of facilities. So, although clubs would have quite a lot of resource, the FA is an organisation where every penny that's earned gets put back into football. There's no profit taken. So it's a constant challenge. Can we do more? Can we make things more affordable? But also you want to keep the quality of the product. And you know, I know that's something that our guys are always looking at. How can we improve the courses? How can we make them more accessible? And you know, that will continue to be something that they strive to do.
Obviously, you had a brilliant career. If you could turn back time and give yourself one piece of advice before you started your career, what would it be?
Really good question. Well, I mean, I was, you know, looking back, I do take a lot of satisfaction from a career. I don't see it as a brilliant career because I played with players that won more, and you know, I would have liked to have been involved in a team that was challenging for the title and have won more medals. So I'm always looking at how it might have been better, and I guess the biggest area would have probably been to have had more belief in my own ability. I think as a young player, I played for a club at Crystal Palace that gave us great fighting qualities, but most of the time we were told we were useless and we'd never make it, which was a source of motivation, but probably didn't instill us with loads of confidence. So I guess you know, it took me a long time to be able to, probably when I moved to Aston Villa and started training more with international players every day, that I suddenly realised, okay, I can play at this level, but I was 25 by then, so you're always trying to play catch up really, and so I didn't really have the belief perhaps that I might have done, and it's one of the things that I try to encourage with our young players without giving them false advice or false hope or elevating them to higher than they should be, but trying to get them to strive to be the best they possibly can be and encourage them and help them to improve without suppressing them. So I think that's one of the biggest aims as a coach is to try and allow young players to be the best possible product they might be.
So being England manager, you are in the press quite a bit. And obviously, do you think that the course that the University of Derby do, the football journalism course, do you think that will help pave a new kind of generation of journalists that will be more respectful to others in the industry, such as yourself?
Well, I think that's a fantastic aim to have. You know, I think firstly it's great that there is a course that can expose you and help you to study different formats of journalism and media, because it's obviously a changing world, and how people pick up their news or receive their news is changing, but there are some core principles around journalism that will always remain. So I think it's really exciting for everybody on the course to be able to not only have guests come in and be able to work with them, but also to share together your thoughts and to pull that and to study together. That's often in any course is the most powerful thing. And yeah, hopefully, I think there should always be at the back of people's minds that everybody in the public eye, although they would accept that there's a level of interest in what they do, they all have families and they all have, you know, a lot will have children, so they read everything. They have an understanding of what's going on, and in the end, most of us are sensitive people, and we're private people, and actually you're trying to do your best within the job, and so it's important, I think, to report accurately as much as anything. You accept in football, you accept if results are poor, then there can be criticism of the job that you do, and there can be opinion on your strengths and weaknesses, and that's fine. But I think once you start to talk about people, it's really important that you're accurate with at least the facts.
So Dean and I would just like to say a massive thank you for coming in today. We love hearing your insight and hearing all that knowledge about how teams progress, especially under a manager's view. So hopefully we'll see you at a game soon.
Thank you. Thanks very much. It's been a pleasure.